So in this video, I'm going to show you a few breathing exercises. Now, as I said in my last few videos, don't get caught up in experiences or the tingling sensations in your spine. Because quote-unquote Kundalini is just release of conditionings. And chakra explosions are just a byproduct and the side effect of this release. The quote-unquote dirt of your soul gets ejaculated out of the anus of the third eye. That's all there is to it. The third eye opens so you can perceive the wisdom eye, which is perceiving itself through each and every one of our eyes right now. That's why the last few boomies are outside the body. I went through a phase where my ego, my spiritual ego, was completely attached to this Kundalini awakened being. I was like looking up Kundalini and thought I had superpower. And in fact, my meditation went up the roof experientially in power after my Kundalini awakening. But that's not because of Kundalini. It's not like Kundalini is some super weapon. It's just because by the time my separation has been erased and dissolved to quite a large degree that, of course, meditation comes easy. After you dissolve all separation, every single minute is meditation. Every single minute is the creative activity of the entire universe. With that said, even though my body mind doesn't have a lot of energy left, actually it has no energy left. That's what it feels like. I feel a universal energy carrying through me, and it's almost like this pulsating presence. But again, don't make that into some kind of a new self. It's like an alien force that eats you away, eats every particle of you away until there's just that. It's like being possessed by God. Slowly possess not only your body and your mind, but everybody and everything else. It possesses and affects the entire universe until it is itself and has always been itself, and you are that. It's a bit like putting on the Iron Man suit, where the intelligence of the suit just takes over. Except the suit is the entire cosmos. And it's the exact same force and intelligence that's speaking right now, and you listening, or was looking out through your eyes and everybody's eyes, was driving the cars outside, washing the dishes, through my aunts in the kitchen next door, or flying the birds outside, moving the clouds in the sky. And it actually literally feels like that, viscerally. It's neither the universal mind nor the individual mind. See, it's the co-creating activity that gives rise and transcends both in the process of dependent origination, which in and of itself, like all the parts that creates a whole and vice versa, lacks an inherent existence, apart from the relations and the endless interplay. The lack of free will, when taken to the extreme, becomes total utterly freedom again. Because by that time, see, the concept of free will versus determinism belongs only to the separate self. Because all dualities, all extremes connect into a loop and both sides collapse. You inhale with the mouth. So you alternate.
Oh, okay, so...
Yes.
Like
yes,
that.
Exactly.
And then the nose again?
And then, so...
Do it.
Okay, so I'll show you. But then you have to breathe in through your spine, okay? So during the inhale, just make sure you drawing your breath from like your spine. So basically you want to feel the breath like coming out of your spine almost. You can see a little bit of your nose. It's just to apply pressure in the quote-unquote third eye region. So if you feel a pressure between your eyes, then you're doing it right.
So that slow? You do it that slow?
I do it pretty slow. Like you want to make sure like you're drawing really long breaths. So all the way up. Now, disclaimer, you might feel like you're tripping throughout and after this exercise, or you might not have any experience at all. It all depends. But you don't need to do Kundalini or chakra breathing or Kriya Yoga for awakening. I myself only did Vipassana body scanning for three to 4 years before awakening. And I never knew anything about chakras or Kundalini. And then one day, spontaneously, mid-path, all my chakras spontaneously open up. From the root all the way to the crown. And cycled back and forth like 3 to 5 times. And I died every single time. It was like physical death almost. Where every particle of my being exploded to the universe. If you don't have a lot of conditioning, you might not have a lot of experiences. Because again, enlightenment is about the annihilation of even the experiencer. It goes deeper and beyond all mystical experiences. My form isn't perfect, and I picked this up from a spiritual lady on YouTube. So I'm going to provide a link in the description box, and you should probably watch that instead if you want better instructions. Let's start with the root chakra for grounding and stability. Now, for all these, you want to have an erect spine and looking forward. Put your hands on your shoulder and inhale as you reach for the sky. And then on the exhale, you pull down your arms with force while breathing into the bottom of your spine at the perineum area. Now for each of these chakras, you're going to do 10 to 15 reps. Okay? Next, we have the sacral chakra, which is located near the ovaries, below the navel and above the root chakra. This one is for sexuality and emotions. Now, for each chakra, you want to visualize. Bring your attention to that particular area and let your breath penetrate that particular chakra. Okay, so hands on the knees, and when you inhale, fill your chest with air like a balloon. Lift your chin, and when you exhale, you round the back. Next, we have the solar plexus chakra for a healthy ego and self-esteem. So you draw a circle with your waist, kind of like you're squeezing sashimi out of a tube. Now, I'm probably making way too much movement here. The circle should be a little bit smaller. And you do this 10 to 15 times one side, and you alternate. And you go the other way for 10 to 15 times. And your breath should be alternated too. For the next chakra, we have the heart chakra for compassion and love. You put your hands on the shoulder and you twist from side to side while taking long, deep breaths and let the air penetrate your heart and your heart chakra and your chest. 10 to 15 times each way. Again, like the last one, we alternate the breath when you switch sides. Next, we have the throat chakra for better communication and creativity, or a more alpha voice. Alright, so you cross your fingers and place your hands at the bottom of your chin. And then you inhale by spreading your arms. And then when you exhale, you bring the elbows together, your head, and look up into the sky. Again, imagine or visualizing your breath as, fucking your throat. Next, we have the third eye chakra, which is between your eyes for imagination and visualization. On the inhale, extend your arms all the way and open up your chest. Stare at whatever object is in front of you. On the exhale, you put your hands over your eyes. It's kind of like peekaboo. Now, try to keep that image in front of you as clear and precise as possible when you exhale. Now, Again, I'm not sure if you should take those literally or metaphorically. It doesn't even matter. But whether or not a specific chakra really does this or that, bro, you can say it's bro science or whatever. Who gives a fuck? The energy is real. The releases are real. You realize that even energies or even sensations are ultimately empty. And finally, we have the crown chakra. Outside of your body now, it's above the head. You sort of merge all the chakras together, so to speak. First, you put your hands together like you're praying, and then you bring your hands to the sky while breathing in through the spinal cord, out through the third eye, and to the area above your head. And then you exhale, and on the way down you open your arms like a lotus flower while breathing down from your crown chakra and hitting all the chakras until you breathe out through the bottom of the spine. Dude, there's a lot of people that are into fitness there. It's very weird. Like, a lot of people who are like getting into Vipassana or meditation are like really into fitness. So the first 3 days, all you do is just watch your breath. 6, 7, and 8, I think, are the days where you really go deep, because it takes a while for you to like unpeel the mind.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Did you cry at your retreat?
I cried on the first one the most. The second one, I did also cry, but less. The third one, I almost didn't cry. First one, you kind of go through a lot of your personal bullshit, like a lot of your past traumas come up. Yeah, it's more personal, the first one, and then the later ones, it's more existential. It's more like, okay, I got a lot of my own bullshit out of the way now. Let's see what the fuck is reality. Yeah, but it's all the same.
That he just experienced.
Dude, to be honest, there's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for it. Have you been practicing? What's the longest you've ever sat without moving?
Without moving?
Yeah.
1 hour, 15 minutes.
Okay, you're good to go, man. Like, I'll tell people, if you can sit for an hour without moving, you're ready. The whole environment there, it like, it kind of psychs you up, because like everybody's doing it. It's like you're in a spaceship, and then like you're just one of the parts, and then it's kind of like you're just flowing with it. So it's actually easier. I'll say, dude, retreats are actually in some sense easier than meditating by yourself.
Yeah, because like you're not giving up because the other guy doesn't want to give up, just because of the ego going on.
A little bit of that, definitely. I think we're all just trying to merge with the oblivion, just being successful, having a lot of sex, meditating a lot. They're looking to merge with the infinite through finite means.
Yeah, but they're just trying to find something permanent.
They want to erase separation.
Yeah, because like when I was on these things, I didn't feel like any separation. What are your ideas of what you're going to do with yourself like after this enlightenment?
Nothing. I have no idea. Just talking to you. I'm just taking it moment by moment. Yeah, it's pretty great. But like, I still work out though. I love working out more now, because I don't have a goal for working out anymore. Before I had a goal.
You just like lifting shit.
I like lifting shit. It feels good. Like just feeling the sensations. Like working out, right? Before I used to be out of breath. We spend a lot of energy trying to maintain the separate self. So when you lift weights, when your identity is still inside the mitsu, like behind the eyes, before you unhook that to like infinity or whatever, when you lift weights, you get out of breath. Like at least I did. You get tired. I did more sets, more reps than I did before awakening in an hour, and I don't feel out of breath at all. Like we spend so much time imagining ourselves into this little avatar that we have little energy for everything else. Like I sleep like 4 or 5 hours now. And like when you lift weights, it doesn't feel like the energy is coming from within. It doesn't feel like there's a drive to want to be a better person. You do it out of like quote unquote divine will instead of personal will. And when that's unfolding spontaneously, you don't get tired.
It just felt like it was
moving itself.
Yeah, it was moving itself, and it was air. Like I didn't feel like I'm dragging myself to do anything.
Like, even when you're lifting weights, you feel like you're air. But at the same time, the air is not. It's not hollow. It's full. The air is like fucking solid as a rock.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't feel like my body anymore. It was weird.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like having out of body experience. It goes even the duality between being inside the body, outside the body.
Like maybe I would sit in my backyard just staring at the plants for like 15 minutes, and then I was just looking at the plants, and then it felt like everything I was watching was slow motion.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
The water going down, hitting the leaves and flying down. It was like slow motion as fuck.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
that's a pretty good description of it. Recently, I've been sharing this new insight I had where it's in the state, the natural state. It's almost like you're blacked out. It's almost like you have no consciousness because you're kind of in a permanent cessation. You're like dead. But from another perspective, you're able to manifest all of reality, all of life. So you're like super present, but no presence. Super aware, but no awareness.
It's like
exactly like that,
there,
right?
but you're physically present, mentally absent.
I would say it goes beyond physically and even spiritually. It's like it's impossible to describe. It's just like you're there, but you're not there.
You're just like doing nothing.
Dude, pretty much. But I'm actually doing a lot. But at the same time, I feel like I'm not doing anything either. So
it feels like you're a child again, doesn't it?
It does. It does. That's the perfect analogy. It feels like you're a baby again.
Yeah.
It feels like
I remember when you were a child, like I don't know, like a whole year would go by and it felt so long, but it felt so great.
Yes.
It felt like you did so much, but it feels like you were like did so little. Like there was no part of you that was just like, fuck, what's tomorrow? What's this? What's today? Fuck this. Oh, fucking hell. Like thinking about shit that you want.
Exactly. It's like
everything was just spontaneous.
Yeah. Like you can perceive the world as having no time, or you can everything in the relative level still is included in the absolute. Sometimes people get too attached to the absolute level, drunk on emptiness. With that said though, I have to warn you, like sometimes, especially after the first retreat, you're gonna have phases where you feel like everything's fake and like it's all a dream, it's all pointless and meaningless. That's just a phase. You've seeped like one foot in emptiness for a little bit, and then when you come back into the world of like the particular forms, if you want to be everything, you have to be nothing. But even after the first retreat, you're not going to be able to empty out yourself completely. So you're going to be like kind of like half empty and half full. Phases where you don't feel like talking to anybody because you think everybody's being fake and shit. You think everybody's like coming from the egos and shit, and somehow I see through all the egos, but that's just more ego, you know, that's still ego. It's a very common phase, so it's just embrace it and just kind of observe it for what it is, but don't mistake anything to be the ultimate.
The only thing I'm looking to get, I know that for 10 days I'm not going to get any I'm not going to get much out of it, except I just want a little bit more pain tolerance.
That's not true. You could get a lot out of it, actually. Just don't have any expectations.
I just don't want to. I don't want expectations.
Yeah, don't have expectations. But that's an expectation too.
Yeah.
Just fuck it. I mean, just let everything arise. Yeah, that's the only thing that I can remember from after my first retreat is I went through that phase of being half empty and yet still half full. You're gonna cycle back and forth between like being everything, being God, being love, and being nothing, being empty until they merge as one. That's why you hear about the dark night of the soul, right? It's not just spirituality, that's a cycle of life, man. That's just a part of duality. And until you become non-dual, beyond the yin-yang circle and abide in the space that gives rise to both the yin-yang and the space outside of it, unless you really reach that stage, you're going to, no matter what you do, even in just a relationship or even just day-to-day life, even if you don't meditate at all, you go through those cycles, like life and death, dark and light, morning, night, whatever. You gotta transcend both the individual mind and the universal mind.
So like pain is different from suffering, right?
Yep. Suffering is pain times the resistance to suffering, or pain times the interpretation of suffering, right? So without the interpretation, I would say the pain can still be felt, but it's reduced by like a lot. If you don't interpret the pain itself wouldn't manifest as strongly.
Would you say Navy SEALs have just learned how to suffer a lot, or would you say Navy SEALs have divorced pain? You know, like the British SAS soldier, he was being questioned and he was being like called out for saying he felt like God when he was on the battlefield.
Dude, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, and then he was being called out for it, and he said, "I'm not saying I am God. I'm saying what I was doing felt godlike because everything was slow motion, everything was perfect. What I wanted happened."
That's crazy, bro. Everything we do is just to get to that mode. And that mode is death. And death is life, and death is love.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing, man.
Yeah, you can die twice.
You die before you die. That's the whole path. Yeah, that's the whole path. Like in French, orgasm means mini death. Because you die for a little bit when you have an orgasm. That's why we love sex. So we're all gonna get there eventually. That's why people have near-death experiences, and their reports is very similar to an enlightenment experience. Because some people are crazy and they want to get there faster.
Do you believe in being reborn?
You're being reincarnated every nanosecond, every day anyway. Whatever you think is you it disappeared like a second ago, you know. I don't know, man. Like, I have experiences where I definitely felt like I was experiencing previous lives during the path. Like when I'm going through the cycles, I've experienced everything, like reincarnation stuff, like, you know, entities, you know, gods, different realms, out of body experience, everything. But then if eventually they all get transcended and you go to this, it's sort of like you're abiding in the source that gives rise to all that, and even the present moment, the most divine, the most mundane, everything. I would say that there's no death. It's deathless, because first of all, I already died. Second of all, even if there's nothing, when you die, you're not going to experience it. And if it's returning to infinite consciousness, you're there right now. Right? You're there. You're infinite consciousness right now, right?
Yeah.
I do know that soldiers, because I heard this podcast by Daniel Ingram. He said that soldiers actually go through a lot of like quote unquote spiritual highs during battles and stuff, because they have to be super alert and concentrated. And when you get into that super concentrated state, you basically are accessing like jhanas and stuff. So they might be in samadhi, they just don't know. Like flow state, right? But afterwards, they go into dark night, because the two are
PTSD.
Yeah, that's the dark night of the soul. After your spiritual highs, you go through the spiritual lows. But they don't quantify like that. But that's just like I said, like even soldiers go through the same stages. And I was also watching a podcast with Shi Jin Yang. It's called The Enlightenment Cab. It's trying to make this cab that gets people instantly awakened. I don't know if it's gonna work, but in the podcast he said he was watching a cockroach die, and he said he likes to watch video footage of, you know, people getting attacked by lions or sharks, and then you'll see that when people brush up against death, they actually go into a state of God consciousness, unity. And there's actually a phase where they don't feel any pain at all, just accept it. Like the guy's looking into the lion's eye or into the shark's eye, the surrender. And that's the same stage before the fruition, before the cessation, the 9th jhana. Before that, you have equanimity. So you have the rising and passing away, the spiritual highs, and then the dark night of the soul. And after that, you go into a stage of equanimity. One of the sub-stages is called re-observation. And this stage is kind of like you're just asking for God's forgiveness and accept your own death. You completely surrender, and then that lasts for a while, and then boom. And that's why people like to engage in extreme sports. And meditation is actually the safest place you can quote unquote kill yourself. Not physically, but you know what I mean. And I was listening to another podcast yesterday about how brainwaves, like delta waves, during dreamless sleep, total absolute rest, that's actually rarely studied. But people who take DMT, for example, the brain is flooded with that delta wave. You know, the beta wave, the alpha wave, whatever, that's all like stages above it. Then you still have consciousness there. But delta wave is, again, just like a succession. And that's why a lot of spiritual exercises like holotrophic breathing, where you just kind of you hold your breath for a really long time, whatever, and you feel high. Why? Because your brain doesn't have oxygen then. It's getting closer to the delta wave. And like yogas and chanting, getting high off of nitric dioxide, that also does the same thing to your brain. It's all the same. It's all the same. The source of our existence. Because the unmanifested and the manifested are one. Just realize that everything is both and neither. Don't cling on to the fact that, oh, it's all imagined, but I still feel like it's real. And don't be like, oh, it's all real. It's neither real nor not real. Just accept it. Just accept it. That's it. Don't put any labels on them. Don't try to analyze them, because you can't fight the mind with the mind. Like that's never gonna work. You can never understand the mind with the mind. And when you try to put labels on it, whether that's it's not real, or it's all a dream, that's all labels. That's all just labels. Even if you label as God, or it's all love, it's all this and that, it's all ego. That's all labels. So the universe is neither divine nor human. It's neither empty nor not empty. It's neither spiritual nor material. It's neither absolute or eternal or relative. It's neither non-dual or dual. It's neither feminine nor masculine nor both. See, that's why the 8th jhana, neither perception nor non-perception, before you go into a secession, where you're kind of in between being conscious and not conscious. That's the last fabricated state. That's important because you're training your mind at a cellular level, experientially, to experience paradoxes. And you wire your brain to hold contradictions. And your existence permanently in a state of indeterminacy. It's that pure potentiality before it becomes anything solid, like even God or human. Actually, mastering all formless realms, the last 4 jhanas, is very important. I mean, you don't need to access them for awakening, but it's definitely steroids for the mind when it comes to awakening. But yeah, you don't need to have them, but if you do, that's great. That's why mastering the 4 formless realms, the last 4 jhanas, is important. You don't need to attain jhanas for awakening, but they do help a lot. So basically, the 4 formless realms are infinite space, infinite consciousness, absolute nothingness, neither consciousness nor not consciousness, and then you go into a fruition, nibbana, cessation. Okay, so basically, the 5th jhana, infinite space, the character experiences this infinite space of awareness. Oh, everything's made up of awareness. The entire world is awareness, right? But then the character is still in the center, very solidified, and is trying to take credit for it by lacing the mind on it. And then when that happens, the mind merge with this infinite space and explode into infinite consciousness. And after that, what happened after a max ever expansion? Now, of course, you contract into absolute nothingness. And then you go into neither perception nor non-perception, as we talked about earlier, where it's in between consciousness and unconsciousness, but you're still sort of conscious. That's why it's called neither perception nor non-perception. It's an in-between indeterminate state. And then you go into a fruition where you completely vanish. Your consciousness completely shut down. You die. There's not even nothingness there. There's not even awareness or consciousness there. You know, going back and forth between those jhanas primes the mind for realization, which is beyond the mind. Now you want to abide in that space of neither nor, because it allows you to train and wire the being not to be attached to any grounds of the absolute. And now you have the reflexivity to, like I said before, switch lenses of perception. Then you realize that any fabrication is as good as any other fabrication, and the only non-fabricated state is death.